Hello! Welcome to the LANCER session -1. Joke's on you, this is actually Rakentha session 68.
Oh, God.
We're running it back, baby!
Where am I?
Holy shit.
10 more years. 1,000 more
10
years.
more years! 10 more years!
1,000 years. 1,000 years Rakentha.
Actually, I'm a fucking fool. I know exactly who to make my image for right now.
Oh yeah?
Hold on. Hold on.
Damn it.
Raises eyebrow.
Oh my god.
Oh no!
Amazing.
Oh no, they're flustered.
Matt!
They fluster.
Yeah, I just need to scale them down a little bit.
I know anime. Unfortunately, I also know what anime boy I need to be.
Everyone's gonna switch to anime boys. Everyone's gonna switch to anime boys.
Yes.
Fuck, what's it called again? Discord reactive.
Yeah, Fugitech. Discord reactive images. But level setting for just like what we're doing today. Today is way more of a conversation than anything else. Extremely open to any and all questions, comments, answers, suggestions, all of that fucking shit. I've got a PowerPoint that I have given you all ahead of time that you are free to look at, and please comment on. You should have the ability to if you want to. Is that a Warframe?
What?
No, that's
Oh, Zero from
This is Zero
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Borderlands.
Borderlands,
baby.
right? Yeah, okay. Amazing. So, this is more kind of getting a sense for the world, kind of getting a sense for what the plan is when it comes to premise. A lot of this is in aid of helping me get some direction for what I need to do all of the like crunchy groundwork planning ahead of actually playing our campaign, which I intend to do. I'm going to be doing a lot of writing, asset creation, organization, etc. while we're playing Morkborg. So a lot of this is just setting up for that. So you're not expected to. We're not like building characters necessarily in the game or anything like that. We're not defining stats. Nothing is for certain. We're not making any major personal decisions. But we're trying to get everyone kind of in the right state of mind for what to expect when it comes to our Lancer campaign, as well as how we want to set up so that I can make this I can put work into making this the best it can be for the collective. Before we get into the PowerPoint, actually, especially since we've all seen that already, Sal's probably the only person who has not participated in one of these, in our group at least so far, but I've already posted it and pinned it in Lance chat. I have a Lancer campaign safety sheet. It'll be deeply familiar if you remember the one from D&D, but I have added the regular green stoplights in addition to the X-Card Cut Break Rewind, just because I have found those to be...
Useful.
I have used them way more than I have ever used X-Card Cut Break Rewind, etc. They just have been more higher utility for me in recent history. With the particular note, like, y'all probably understand fairly intuitively, like, red and yellow. As far as, like, hard stop and getting kind of uncomfortable. But the more unique tool that is new to this document is just green. Meaning, instead of it being a, like, hey, we want to stop this, we don't like this, we're uncomfortable, etc., it is the hard opposite of, fuck yeah, this rules and I want more of it. This can be kind of a check-in, like, at points if things seem a little tense or uncomfortable, I might ask stuff like all green, to make sure everyone's feeling good in a solid state of mind, or if we need a break or anything like that, but can also be a thing you type in text for voice when other people are having a conversation you think is really cool. If something is happening to you that you really like, Hannah, I think you brought up the funny joke of like the GM is currently TPKing, but you're really into it and you're just like jamming green in text chat while the party collectively goes down. Like, yeah, this sucks for our characters, but it rules for us, is like great opportunities to use green.
Oh wait, there's like a green heart, isn't there? Here.
Probably.
Yes.
There is.
I was also gonna see if there's like a green card GIF, because I'm sure there is some opportunity, to make it silly to the best of your ability. I bet there are better GIFs outside of Tenor. Anywho, that is the major new thing in our safety document so far. Additionally, beyond that, I'm going to forget who any of you are because everyone has already changed their names from the Rakentha. Deeply funny. Green Worm is very good. Green Worm is excellent.
Also, shout out to fucking Ash from Fire Emblem.
Look, I needed the nearest Sunshine Boy, and Ash seems like has the appearance of Sunshine Boy.
He is. He absolutely is.
Amazing.
So funny.
Ideal.
Yeah, I've never played Fire Emblem Three Houses.
You absolutely picked the best one.
Evenly distribute the icons.
Nudging people around.
It's gonna bother me all session, not in a bad way, just in an I'm gonna be fiddling with it the entire time kind of way.
Yeah.
Also, as before, we've got lines, veils, and ask first. This document should be fully editable by everyone. So as long as y'all are comfortable with it, feel free to anonymously edit veils, lines, etc. for your hard stops, your fade to blacks, and your things you want people to ask first before proceeding. But otherwise, pretty standard. Relevant to this conversation, we have already added one particular line to this document, which is civilian casualties. Throughout the course of this campaign, no innocent deaths are going to occur as a result of conflict, nor will I ever threaten the consequence of innocent lives lost as the result of some kind of conflict. We want these to be high tension, very interesting situations. This is at the request of Hannah. But that is too deep of a feels bad for the consequences of potentially losing combat. Puts so much pressure onto that it may no longer be fun. So we're putting that in here. Unlike a lot of the other RPGs we have played this far, there are no, like, capital M monsters in Lancer. There's no dragons, there's no, like, fantastical energy beings. Fundamentally, the people you are going to be in conflict with as characters are other people. And that means that the conflicts in this have a chance to have higher and more personal stakes, especially when it comes to simple violence against other people because of the mere fact that we don't have the facade of hiding behind the fact that they're mindless goblins in this game. So... keep that in mind while you're considering. Obviously, nothing needs to be done immediately. We have so much time ahead of the campaign, so if you ever think about anything, if you're ever fucking watching Gundam and you go like, wow, I would really hate it if that happened to my character in this campaign. Super worth popping in. Shoot me a message if you want to have a conversation about it ahead of time or add stuff to campaign safety. So, as long as we are all green, going to shift to our funny PowerPoint. As before, feel free to interrupt me at any time. I will have a tendency to just like monologue and run through all of this, but it's also something you've all seen before, so I'm not too worried about like getting in all the crunchy details. So let's talk about Lancer.
Yay.
I'm so fucking stoked to play this game. So what is Lancer? Why are we doing it? What do we want? Why are we doing it? This is going to start with just like solid info about the world. I'm going to be running this game as close to canon as possible, just for the ease of lack of conflict between what is in the books and what we're going to be doing mechanically. That said, the world of Lancer is mega flexible. So if there's anything you are specifically interested in that you're worried like may fall outside of what is like normally acceptable for the world or for the concept, call it out, because I can almost definitely massage it to make it work. I think I've already had like 3 of those conversations between different people. Also in this particular list, while the world is huge and there are tons of facts about it, there's a decent chance that your characters know a lot less than you will as players about the world. That said, I want you all to be equipped to play in the space as best you can, so there might be some information in the PowerPoint that is titled in red. There's not a lot of it. There's just a couple lines that are things that are useful to know for you as players, but your characters almost definitely don't know as people. So, what the fuck is Lancer? Overall vibe is classic robot and mecha. I want to say mecha specifically. Tropes and shit. That is a hybrid of tactical TTRPG a la Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition is this game's primary mechanical inspiration, alongside a hyper rules light narrative side of gameplay. When you are outside of your mech, you're in the super rules light narrative style of gameplay. When you are inside your mech, you're in crunchy hex tile combat mode. It is functionally a fully different set of rules depending on whether you are inside your mech or outside of your mech. Each influences the other somewhat, but not too much, all things considered. The world itself is generally hopeful. It does exist in kind of a post-apocalypse. The Earth went pretty pear-shaped at like several thousand years ago or whatever the fuck. And humanity abandoned Earth to rot, and then returned to it fairly recently in the history of, like, human consciousness, and are doing the best to right the wrongs of the people who came before them. So much of this game exists in the shadow of the mistakes of previous organizations of humans. The fall of Earth, a previous version of Union, which is the primary, like, the dominant civilizational faction of the game. Union has gone through a lot of transformation, and in the past had a bit of a fasci age, where they tried to do a lot of taking over planets by force and dominating the galaxy, and that turned out real bad. And a lot of the modern setting is trying to right those wrongs. It's kind of a soft, hopeful utopia, all things considered. If you are not a pilot, like all of you are, life is pretty good for citizens in Lancer. But it takes people like you, people like the pilots, to help make sure that that stays true when it comes to the world. There's a lot of mega corporations, big organizations, bad actors, people on the fringes who are trying to maintain their own personal power structures in the face of this expansionist utopia. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe of the world. I have a variety of pieces of media played out here. I am once again begging you to play the Titanfall 2 story mode. It's really, really good and will give a great example of the scale of combat in this game. The average mech is about Titan-sized, and that game gives you a really good sense of both how big and strong and powerful a mech can be, and also how small and squishy and delicate you can be as a pilot.
You can literally jib people by stepping on them in that game.
Yeah. Also play Armored Core 6, mostly just because it's really good, and I like it a lot. Here's a very good lore video that we're not going to watch right now. You can do that on your own time. If you have not already watched this video, I strongly, strongly recommend it. It gives a really good overview of the setting, more in-depth than I can in this entire PowerPoint, and also is a great jumping-off point to this creator's other videos about the setting in specific, if you want to dig even deeper into the canon setting. You won't have to know this much about the lore, meaning, like, it's not required reading homework to watch this entire creator's Lancer backlog of videos by any stretch of the imagination, but the resource exists if you want to dig into it. They're also entertaining. I like Zach Tack's videos. I just think they're pretty neat. Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. So, some stuff about the lore. Let's get into the known galaxy a little bit. So the humanity is split into a few different divisions. Those being core worlds, the diaspora, and then cosmopolitans, as far as populations go. Core worlds is everything under Union or Union influence. These are going to be your most utopian worlds, and the biggest thing that defines what is and is not a core world is its proximity to a blink gate. So blink gates are the ways that Union has developed faster than light travel. And that means that the closeness of different worlds as connected to each other is how close they are to blink gates. You can travel in real space between these places, but it would take literal centuries, potentially. So a galaxy that's much, much farther away, like a system around a sun that's much, much farther away, but has a blink gate, is functionally closer to being a core world than a system that's very close, but doesn't have a blink gate. It's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? A contradiction, wherein there might be worlds that are actually very close to natural Earth, but are considered part of the diaspora because it would take hundreds of years to fly a normal ship between, and there's no blink gate to get there faster.
So closeness is more so determined by time and convenience versus literal distances.
Exactly. And that's going...
The train tracks laid, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, really good way of thinking about it. Because, for example, shipping resources between core worlds that are literal light years away, as long as there's a blink gate, that happens in a week, maybe a matter of days, less than a month. But hard shipping in real time between a core world and a diasporan world, even the closest diasporan world, could take tens of years. This is part of the reason Union... So, the connection to the blink gates, Union makes and maintains and defends the blink gates. This is one of the things that gives them a hold on power, despite being a relatively small power in the known galaxy. Where we're going to be spending most of our time, and where the vast majority of humanity spends most of their time, is the diaspora, which is all of the worlds not yet under the purview of Union. That's everything that is not quite close enough to a blink gate to be connected to all the other territories of Union. These worlds can be run by warlords, by sometimes democratically elected leaders, monarchs, companies, experimental AI. They can be dictated. They might just be in complete anarchy. One of the jokes in one of Zach Takt's video is like, Pandora from Borderlands is completely like plausible as a diasporan world in Lancer, somewhat. The idea of this wasteland that has value, that is being fought and quabbled over by the various corporate interests in near space. To compare by relative population, so at the current state of the world, there are trillions of humans in the known galaxy, and that's only the known galaxy. And about 90% of them live in the diaspora, not Union. So regardless of how much Union wants to uphold those values, wants to get people in under their umbrella, that's going to take time. And there's such a small amount of the galaxy that, like, most of the time things are not that perfect world, but they're trying to get close to it. The other major population that are not settled on these planets are cosmopolitans. Those are people who spend their entire life on ships, whether going forward and backward in space, being merchants, deliverers, spacers, navies, mercenaries, etc. These people have a very different view of time than everyone else. If you're ever curious in a particular bit of like quantum physics that will be actually relevant to this campaign, look into the concept of objective and subjective time. Because the kinds of people who live on ships will experience time fundamentally differently than everyone else. One of the biggest examples of that is like if you come from a planet and you leave on a spaceship and you go out for 7 years and then you come back after that 7 years, you will have experienced less time than the people on that planet. It's fucky, it's weird, and as a result, most cosmopolitans have functionally formed their own micro and macro cultures on these ships. They experience like the world and interacting with other people in their own unique way that breeds their own sense of camaraderie. A lot of pilots tend to be either somewhat or primarily cosmopolitan. Mercenaries, navies, independent forces, emergency services, etc. People whose job it is to be rushing around the galaxy to the aid of the downtrodden tend to be in space more than they are on planets, so trying to acclimate to how different people exist in culture on worlds can be kind of hard. This also gives us a pretty good excuse to make worlds however the fuck we want them to be. They're disconnected from each other enough in time and space that basically any world can be any way. Though most of them have a pretty high baseline level of technical development. That said, let's talk about tech in the year 5016 U. This is not relative to the current calendar. This is not in 3,000 years. 5016 started during the formation of Union. So this is like... The planet called Cradle in the lore is like heavily implied to be Earth, but it's not technically literally Earth necessarily. If you don't want it to be. It can if you want it to be. It doesn't necessarily need to be. And how far in the future this is relative to like the year of our Lord 2024 is like something like 10,000 years or something like that. It's kind of an absurd length of time. As a result, Lancer is such a high-tech setting. If you think of any tech that you think is cool in the future from any sci-fi thing you have experienced, it probably exists somewhere in Lancer. That tech is not evenly distributed. Like we said, the highest tech worlds are going to be inside Union on those core worlds. But it's not like any of the diasporan worlds are slouching. We're not talking like Alien and Aliens style cassette futurism. We're talking like proper futurism. As a few examples of the kind of things you can get, we've got 3D printers and fabricators, stuff that can make anything. There's actually a fun guide in the book that is the scale of different 3D printers from like just making your own little functional electronics and widgets and stuff like that to 3D printers the size of planets that can generate mega infrastructure, like while in orbit in space, which is what's used to make blink gates, among other things. Medtech is huge. Life expectancy of the average human hovers around 120 years on core worlds. That can change depending on where in space you are and how gracious your overlords are on your diasporan planet. But the tech exists to be able to fuck with your genetics, regrow limbs, completely eliminate a lot of genetic disease and like cellular disease. Cancer is not really a problem in the far future. We can just eliminate that at the cellular level. In addition to that, you have body modification. People who want to alter themselves aesthetically, biologically, prosthetically, etc. That much is basically just available. Again, funny enough, a reference to Borderlands, like the booths in that game where you can just mess with your appearance however you want, exist on core worlds. You can just like step into a pod for a few hours and come out with a different face if you really wanted to. It doesn't have any strong implications. There might be like some social repercussions depending on the kind of planet you're on and where you're at, but like all things considered, that kind of thing is totally fine. Do whatever you want. Again, on core worlds, 90% of manual terrestrial labor has been completely automated. Like there's not really a concept of people working in factories, on people working in refineries, even stuff like food service, common concierge robots. Like there probably aren't really any employees working at like shops unless those employees are deeply passionate about their jobs. In union space, particularly, there are 3 pillars that are upheld in union society, and the first and most important of those is all humans have their material needs met no matter what. So no one is required to have a job, basically, in the far future. We have enough to provide for everybody, therefore we will. So if you ever see, like, if you ever walk into like a clothing store or a boutique and there's a real human being behind the counter, it's a really good sign because it means they want to be there. They exist. Their life passion is doing whatever it is that they are doing, probably. True on core worlds. In the diaspora, labor's a bit of a touchy subject. As you might get the sense of from the far-flung future of megacorporations, there can be a lot of exploitation and general control over populations not yet under the purview of Union. And even in worlds that are starting to see the presence and influence of Union, there might be a lot of people still trying to break those rules to their own benefit. Leeches and leaders tend to protect their own power at all costs, no matter what kind of world you're in. And it's sometimes very hard to take that from them. They're loath to give that up willingly. Couple of the most important pieces of tech are blink gates, as mentioned before, faster than light travel between 2 points, on the scale of giant interstellar naval ships. And the interplanetary internet, OmniNet, which is also faster than light. Normal speed internet still exists, like normal standard internet, but it works the same way ours does. It exists within a system, maybe even within a single planet, maybe even within a system. But the OmniNet allows for those planets covered by Union nearest to blink gates to actually connect to each other in a way that's meaningful and exchange ideas and information. A lot of planets in the diaspora that are under nefarious purview heavily resist the presence of OmniNet, because being more connected makes it harder to control people fundamentally, and it makes it really easy to prevent worlds under harsh rule to ask for help. So AI, this is not in the previous screen because it's a pretty important part of the setting. AI is split into a couple of groups. Companion and concierge. You may be already familiar with the term CompCon. This is just like super advanced Alexa. It's not any kind of actual intelligence. It's not sapient, but it's deeply helpful and very useful. Anything you could see like Iron Man asking Jarvis in the Marvel movies, or asking, hey, Master Chief asking Cortana. I think Cortana could be arguably an NHP, depending on what game you're looking at. But like, if you can verbally ask a lot of semi-intelligent checks, pseudo-intelligent tech, to be able to do pretty complex tasks for you, and it'll be able to do those as long as it is almost exclusively data focused. Those kinds of units are not necessarily the best for handling mechanical tasks, like operating an entire factory floor or whatnot. Union, in particular, has figured out a way to get around that problem, though. Non-human persons, i.e. NHPs, are truly intelligent machines. They can handle incredibly complicated tasks on the scale of managing the techs of entire cities or entire worlds, commanding the ship of an entire naval fleet, and on a more personal note, as beyond companion concierge units, NHPs can form personalities. They have personhood and sapience beyond the tasks that they can complete. This can make them very useful as companions and co-pilots, depending on the situation. Some pilots swear up and down by having an NHP in their mech. Others don't want that black magic shit anywhere near their favorite piece of mechanical equipment. Things you can learn about NHPs that your players probably don't know is that NHPs, there's a reason they're not called artificial intelligence. And it's because they're not artificial. Humans didn't make NHPs. They basically found them, stumbled across them while trying to do research into other areas, and then exploited what they had found to create NHPs. NHPs exist as you all would interface with them, as normal personalities. It's your Ada from the Firefly campaign. Something that can do managed tasks, can pilot a ship, can help you get off the ground, can do a wide variety of things, and seems to have some real intelligence behind it. But they are held back by the systems that they're put in. If they were given access to higher capacity units and were not conditioned by whatever they are being distributed by to be in the handicapped, limited capacity state that they're in, they have practically infinite computing power. They're only held back by the physical object that is containing them inside their mech, inside the city that they manage, inside the ship that they pilot. So if you've got one in your ship, in your city, in your mech, etc., be nice to it and hope it doesn't freak the fuck out. And sometimes even if you are nice to it, it might freak the fuck out anyway. Frequently because it realizes the situation that it has been put in. This may end up being a pretty big source of intrigue for the rest of the campaign, so up to you depending on whether you want to get to it or not. And that also kind of depends on your characters and what we want to do with them. But NHPs, there's a lot going on with NHPs in the setting in general. Beep-doop. Humanity is alone in the universe. There are no aliens in Lancer. And has yet to make contact with any extraterrestrial life. No matter how far we go, no matter how many systems we visit, the only signs of, at least like sapient, intelligent human life that we've found is other humans. Don't ask about the Hercynian crisis. We're moving on. So, mechs. They're pretty cool. They're pretty important.
I like those.
We like those. It's kind of the whole point we're playing the game. So, is there a thing in chat? You like mechs. That's crazy. I'm glad you're here. You're in the right place.
I like mechs.
Pretty cool.
Just imagine everyone like sitting in a crowd, like
nodding.
at each other, like,
Mechs. Yep.
Just
Next.
like one guy in the back. Woo!
Mobile armored heavy infantry, cavalry. The point of mechs is that they are as powerful as a small army, but as precise as individual spec ops agents. You can send 4 to 10 mechs to accomplish what would otherwise require hundreds of boots on the ground, with no casualties aside. General rules of engagement in mech combat is shoot for the metal, not for the meat. You could have an entire war fought between mechs on either side of a conflict and have casualties be in the single digits and almost all of them be accidents. Mechs preserve human life while maintaining physical power in a way that is deeply important to the way that society operates in Lancer. But you can always ignore those rules. There are pilots that are trained not to disable a mech, but to get at that squishy bit on the inside that's controlling it sometimes. So depending on who you are and your motivations therein, mechs can be these noble signals of a brighter future, of a more civilized idea of conflict, or they can be 100-ton murder machines capable of causing incalculable damage in a shockingly short amount of time and risk. Mechs tend to be the center point of most Flashpoint conflicts. You're the people sent in to break the line, to push during a siege, to save the day, to get out with the information or the personnel. Whenever something needs done, and it needs done right now, that's what mechs do. There's a wide range of roles pilots can fulfill while piloting mechs. Mercenaries, first responders, fleet admirals, knights errant, personal bodyguards. Pilots stand at the center of most conflicts of the galaxy. And there's an unofficial title designated to pilots who prove their mettle above the rest of their peers, and that is Lancer. You won't find it in any books. You won't find it in any regiments. It won't be listed on any ID cards. You know it when you see it.
So is this like a recognized title, or is it just like something that is kind of just thrown around?
Yeah, more the latter. If you get called a Lancer, it's either someone fucking with you, or it is deep appreciation from someone else who knows how hard it is to be a pilot.
Yeah, like game seeing game, like mad respect.
Okay.
Like oh, that person's a Lancer.
Yeah. Anyone can be a pilot, but very few people become Lancers.
Noted.
One of the ways it was expressed to me, the way mechs fit into this high sci-fi narrative combat that I really enjoy from a strategic standpoint, is like, yeah, sure, this is a world where we have like orbital lasers, right? And enormous naval ships that can hold hangars of these things that can release them at any given moment to just like fully... This is a universe where we have destroyed whole planets before during conflicts. Do you know how fucking expensive it is to do that? Do you know how much money it costs to fire an orbital laser once? Mechs are the highly trained elite scalpel it takes to get anything important done in a conflict. And as such, they're deeply versatile and kind of the default when it comes to like high tier combat.
How readily available are mechs in this setting?
So frames is kind of your default for it. The GMS Everest, General Massive Systems, is Space Walmart, is the way I'm going to put it. They work really closely with Union. They are literally the galactic standard of utility and quality. They make a particular frame that is used for, like, not only warfare, it's used for farming and exploration and science expeditions and a whole bunch of other shit. But also can be really easily fitted with general use weapons for defense and ongoing operations and the like. That's also going to be the mech that you're going to use the first time you play the game, or at least a modification of it, either Everest or the Chumulungma or the Zagarmatha. Those deeply available. Skilled pilots to be able to handle them in combat, much rarer. The tech is more available than the people with the ability to use them well. Anyone can get into a mech and just, like, teetle around with it in the same way, like, hey, if you got, like, 4 people together, you could probably figure out how to pilot a tank on your own, right? But the amount of people who can actually pilot them well, use them effectively in a high-intensity situation, especially against, to extend the metaphor, other tanks, requires a lot of training, requires a lot of discipline. Make sense? Answer question?
Yeah.
Sick. All right, let's talk about you. What are you doing in here? We've just got a few... Oh, sorry. Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't muted. Continue.
You're good. We've got a few like requirements for characters, and also kind of a peek into the overall mechanics and whatnot. This is kind of digging into other stuff. I'm going to give a more thorough mechanical overview, tutorial, etc. for anyone who needs it when we actually get to our session 0 in however long that takes. But for now, this is kind of a breezy overview. I'm sure... How many of y'all have actually, like, read the book, or parts of the book, or fucked around on CompCon, etc.?
I've spent a
read-
fair amount of CompCon, but not in
A little bit
Also-
on ComCon, a little bit in the book.
I've also watched a good deal of the videos from that guy that you
Zach
showed
Tech?
us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mostly videos, a little bit in CompCon. I haven't touched the book yet.
Hell yeah. The book is a good resource for learning the mechanics. It's a little dry, but actually like reading through the player mechanics section, I think gives a good sense of like how action economy works, what you'll actually be doing while playing the game, and then help inform your decisions when it comes to like mech building. But again, your mech choices are going to be a little limited when we start the game anyway, which will help get everyone settled into the fundamentals of the system before people start building crazy advanced and complicated mechs. This is a learning curve I really appreciate it, about how the game is designed, kind of the same way that like if we were playing D&D now, we would start at like level 5, but it's valuable if it's your first time to start at level 1. So, a few requirements for pilot enrollment. Everyone's got to be 18 or over. I know we fucking love putting children into mechs and throwing them into terrifying ordeals for all kinds of shows, all kinds of animes, etc. We love murdering children inside of mechs. It is our favorite pastime. I would like to explore similar themes, but with adults, please.
Fuck them kids.
Is it really
Fuck
mecha
them.
anymore, though? Is it really mecha?
We're expanding the genre. It's a little more Macross.
We're subverting.
It's a little more Macross than Gundam, I know, but I think it'll be okay. We're not begging emotionally stunted 14-year-olds to kill gods.
Well, that's my cue.
You gotta be new, or an inexperienced pilot. This doesn't mean young, necessarily, but this is a whole new system for all of us, myself included. So we're going to try and keep what the players know, both mechanically and world-wise, and what the characters know, both mechanically and world-wise, as close together as possible. It'll just help us with the best player-to-character unity. If we play Lancer again at some point in time, or somehow have like a wild Act 2, Act 3 turn in the middle of this campaign, etc., then we can start breaking out pilots who already know what they're doing, or already veterans, etc. Your character has to be cool as hell. Enough said.
Damn it.
No dorks in this campaign. You're allowed to play a dork if you want to. A dork is just a different kind of cool.
I'll put my dork in my shelf and cry.
No, I know y'all are going to make some cool SOCs. I'm just excited to see their dynamics they're in. All right. When you're thinking about characters, frankly, I think everyone's already got characters ideated. So this page is kind of redundant. I think we've got 01 down. It sounds like everyone's got some one or more concepts and probably clearly a name figured out, since you all renamed yourselves already.
I don't know what you're talking about here.
We're incorrigible. We can't fucking help ourselves.
I'm pretty sure several of y'all had names and concepts picked out before I finally went like, yeah, the next campaign is going to be Lancer. So, totally cool. The other thing you'll need that's a little bit more specific is a call sign. This is imagine it's your license plate for your mech. This is going to be visible to allies, enemies, third parties, like if a signal registry comes in from like a plane, they need to know what to call it so they can like direct it through proper airspace. This is what your call sign is. Traditionally, call signs can be vulgar. They can be a little fucked up. They can be ironic. They can be very memento mori. There's a wide variety of stuff you can do. Just like if you look up just like pilot call signs from video games or whatever the fuck, you'll be good. I'm sure y'all will pull out some fun stuff.
I think like Full Metal Jacket calling someone Private Joker, Private Pile, the private fucking that kind of thing.
Sure, yeah, that also works really well. Yeah, absolutely. This can be how you refer to your mech if you want to, but as an optional, since y'all are done with 1 and 2 already, I'll give you different homework. You can also give your mech a name. Depending on whether they have CompCon units or have AI, that may change. If your mech ends up containing an AI, they will probably become their own character. So that will be unassociated, though most of the AIs you can gain in the game come with a name already. And that is relevant for reasons. We'll get into it once we get into specifics if player characters end up with NHPs. I'm not too worried about it at this stage of character creation. A couple actual system mechanics. So, Lancer's a D20 system. But it's a D20 and D6's system. Those are the only two types of dice you're going to use in this game. Occasionally, the book will call for a D3, which is just a D6 divided by 2. 1 and 2 is 1, 2 and 3 is, or 3 and 4 is 3. 1 and 2 is 1, 3 and 4 is 2, 5 and 6 are 3. That said, the numbers are very shifted in this game. Most mechs have an effective AC or evasion of 8, meaning that's all you need to roll to hit them. And the max is like 12 unless it's super exceptional. And the way modifiers tend to work in this game is you get a number, basically a pool of D6s to roll. So I'll get it a little bit into how that works briefly. Instead of like advantage, disadvantage, you get accuracy or difficulty on a roll. For each point of accuracy, you get to roll an additional D6. For each point of difficulty, you must roll an additional D6. And from that pool of D6s, you take the highest roll. So even if you've got 8 advantage on a roll, deeply unlikely, but possible, you're still only getting a maximum of a +6 on that roll because you're just taking the highest available from that pool. Likewise, for difficulty, if you've got like 3 difficulty on a roll, you're going to roll 3d6 and subtract the highest value. Likewise, health and damage are really low numbers. There's like very few. I don't think I remember anything hitting 20 HP. And unlike how your mechs work, your mech, when it reaches 0p, basically takes some kind of specific critical hit and can usually keep walking up to a certain limit. Most enemies, when they hit their HP limit, they're done. They explode, they are non-operational, etc. So doing like a d6 or 2d6 damage can be huge, depending on how your mech functions. Likewise, action economy is kind of wild in this game. There's a chance you could be firing your weapons like 4 times a turn, depending on how you build. When it comes to that kind of like game building, etc., go fucking nuts. Metagame, if you want to, look up other people's builds, get as crunchy as you want to with your custom mech, or build just whatever you think is rad as hell. This is a deeply unsolved system. This isn't like D&D where it's like, well, you should really be taking Eldritch Blast as your first cantrip. You're just wasting Warlock as a class. Like that kind of game advice does not exist for Lancer. Whatever you do is almost guaranteed to be effective and cool. I would definitely advocate for taking whatever you think is rad as hell over what looks powerful, because the numbers are deceiving. When it comes to the narrative and combat play, there's a hard line between how light the narrative play is and how rules dense the tactical combat is. There are very few rules actually governing how social interaction, narrative interaction, etc. works. Do y'all remember how in Firefly there were basically moves that you either could take from a list or write yourself? Lancer functions kind of similarly, except a much simpler system. There's a really good list of, if you're looking for those particular mechanics, look for the word triggers in the core rulebook. That'll get you to like the narrative rules of this game, which means that like if you're hoping to roll your way through conversations, social interactions, negotiations, etc., we're going to be leaning a bit more on practical verbal role play. In the context that like that is hard or not possible, I understand that like part of the fun of TTRPGs is like, but I don't have to be a fucking silver-tongued god to be able to play someone who's sharp-witted. is just going to end up being a lot more collaborative. Let me know, kind of in out of character terms while we're playing, like what you're trying to do, how you want this scene to go, what we're setting up, and we can either figure out how to resolve it with dice or just figure it out. A lot of narrative play in this game, as opposed to rolling perception checks and deception and insight and stuff like that, is just, we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to say what's going on. You're going to tell me what you do. We're going to talk about the consequences of that. Like, 90% of the stuff y'all are going to be doing in narrative play is just going to happen. And there will be consequences therein simply by virtue of what you all choose to do. That can be a little intimidating and scary. That can be a little harder to manage than something a little bit more crunchy. And frankly, if we end up in a position where we don't like how non-systematized the narrative half of Lancer is, I'm already anticipating and looking forward to adding a few layers to that need be. All green? Questions, concerns? Good?
Yep. All good with me.
Sick.
Thumbs up.
Hell yeah. All right, let's talk about advancement, because everyone wants to level up all the time. This is a good thing. You should want to level up. Leveling up is cool. So the way levels work in Lancer are license levels, and pilots gain a license level every time they go on a mission. A mission is the game's narrative word, the game's systemic word for a series of connected combat encounters. So if you're like going down to a planet to protect a group of scientists, there might be 3 combat encounters involved, with like narrative breaks and sessions between them, that are that mission, that are going on that mission. A mission, we were kind of talking about it before, could be a tournament arc, where you have like 4 connected combat encounters with narrative breaks between them, depending on what's going on. A mission could be an adventure where you're going to explore and trying to figure out what's going on in XYZ corner of the planet. Or it could just be like one big combat that satisfies its own narrative conceit. It's pretty flexible, but just like for awareness, that is when you will gain license levels, and license levels give you access to a lot more stuff. Also relevant to how like leveling up and power scaling works in this game, by about license level 3-4, your pilots will be like quote unquote full build on a specific mech, and at that point it's a little less about getting more powerful mechanically, at least getting your mech more mechanically powerful. Your skills and abilities as a pilot will continue to increase, but your mech itself will just get more customizable as you gain license levels in different mechs to try and like cobble together your favorite multi-class of components from various different licenses. So the game tends to be a lot more about the learning curve of the actual tactical combat, as well as your skills as a pilot, as opposed to like, my sword just keeps getting better, in the way that other games might. That said, when it comes to how levels work, I'm basically my mantra for how I intend to run this game is like, I'm gonna play it as written, as closely to as written as physically possible, until that stops working for us, and then I'm gonna start ignoring rules. So if we're like, oh, we want more levels, or like, man, it feels like we're not getting enough time with our cool mech before we have to like change it again, then we can fuck around with how license levels work and how we advance them. Going to try and keep homebrew to what is feasible on CompCon, because I know CompCon is going to be a deeply useful tool for us playing this, despite the game being, I think, simpler than it appears. There is just a lot of options and available things. It's a little like Pathfinder, where it's just like, what the fuck do I even take? I have a choice between 30 feats. What am I even doing? So that is the plan. Comments, questions, concerns?
So, oh, please.
Oh, okay. So you can really like kind of mix and match the different license levels from
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
So, if I can, like, kind of give, like, an example, because I've been thinking about it a lot. I've spent a lot of time in CompCon. So I already have kind of, like, this idea of, like, using the Death's Head frame. So I'll need 2 license levels in the Death's Head, but I want to be using some of the utilities from something like the Swallowtail. So I'll also need to put a few license levels in Swallowtail to get access to those utilities, but then I can attach them to the Death's Head frame. So, like, you can do that with just, like, any of them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay.
One of my build crafting spoilers is that the Everest, the first mech available, is legitimately one of the most powerful mechs in the game. You can play an entire campaign with just the Everest, stealing components from other manufacturers, and have, like, a crazy good build. Sal.
I was just wondering, if that is the case, then are we going to be having, like, multiple, like, an assortment of mechs that we get to choose from between missions?
Yeah, super good question. So at the beginning of every mission, you are going to get a mission briefing. So you are never going to go into combat. I'm not going to say never. Very rarely will you ever go into combat unprepared. Because it just takes a long time to set up a mech. It's not like you can just hop in it and go most of the time. And if you can, like, that's going to be the encounter, is like, hey, what's your mech setup like in CompCon right now? That's what you got. Go. Part of the mission briefing is getting a chance to customize your mech for the mission.
For that mission, yeah.
So if you have a bunch of license levels and a bunch of different mechs, yeah, you could bring a fully different mech to combat if you wanted to. Whether or not you'd style that narratively as having, like, a hangar full of mechs ready at any given point in time, or just one mech that you customize really heavily. Up to you.
Okay. Alright, I guess that was what was confusing me, because I didn't know if we would have, like, one mech that would just kind of be our standalone mech that we would just kind of throw bits and bobs on between every missions, or if we would have, like, a wide variety that we kind of pick from based on mission to mission, like the needs of mission.
That is up to how you want to flavor it.
Perfect. Cool.
Speaking of which, there's a lot of really fucking awesome art for all of the mechs.
Yep.
That said, there is no canon appearance for any mech. Whatever you want to say your mech looks like, that's what it looks like, regardless of what the art says. The art usually depicts a, like, very reasonable build of that mech using all of the equipment described in its rules, but it is purely a suggestion. If you're playing an Everest and want it to look like a Horus mech, you can. That's just what yours is fucky. Shut up. Don't ask questions. If you want to play a Horus mech that doesn't look like it, that secretly looks like one of the other manufacturers' mechs, you can absolutely do that. Whatever you describe and say your mech looks like, that's what it looks like. There's going to be, we're going to be playing with Foundry, which is the tool I have found most useful for, like, hex-based combat, and also it's high polish. It has stuff like a music player and animations and like fancy lighting, and it has really good Lancer integrations, which will help a lot. And there is a website called Retrograde Minis that I believe I've already linked in Lancer resources, that will let you make your own custom pixel art mech icons. And I am planning on paying into that creator's Patreon, so we have access to, like, all the fancy tidbits for it.
You can make stuff like this. I've already been using it a little bit.
Ooh.
Oh, hell yeah.
1-2C, 1-2C.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah, it's like a little stalk of wheat.
Very cool.
I'll call it the bushel.
That's so good. Call sign bushel rules, conceptually. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Looks great. Good job. Thank you for having an example on hand. You get inspiration.
Yeah, thank you. I will use it.
I'm debating. All right, so next up is the pitches. That's like our concepts for, like, okay, hardcore, real concept. What do we want to be doing as a group in our campaigns? And, like, once we pick one, I can actually, like, get to work prepping all the areas and NPCs and situations and stuff like that we're planning on jumping into for that campaign. Do we want to talk about our character concepts before or after talking about the pitches?
I think talking about it, I think before will help us negotiate what the best, figure out what the best scenario is for our characters.
Sound good all around?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think
All
so,
right.
yeah.
I mean,
Then I'll switch to this page. Sure. Or actually, you know what? Let's go back to the cool mech background. Yeah, then in that case, I know everyone's got concepts. Feel free to say as much or as little as you'd like about your characters, depending on how firm your conception of them is. Obviously, it's super early, so you can change whatever the fuck you want about your characters. This is nowhere near a commitment for anyone to do anything. And I find that everyone tends to find their characters change as soon as they start playing them. I know I do.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, let's talk core concepts. Does anyone want to volunteer to go first? Otherwise, I'll probably just go top to bottom.
I'll volunteer.
Conveniently, you're also the top, so let's do it.
All right. I'm playing Clementine. Now, Clementine is just a wide-eyed, obsessive lad. And I'm calling him a lad. He's 18, but he's still definitely a lad, so to say. He is I'd like to think that within his lifetime, or not too long before he was born, that his diasporan world was essentially put into contact with the wider galactic community, with Harrison, with Union, and all that crap. And with them came, I guess, OmniNet access. And kind of like how how like early Flash days, it was just a bunch of stupid kids doing a bunch of stupid shit, like, and pushing and obsessing over what they could do with this new tool.
Oh yeah.
Clementine's kind of like that to the extreme. And Clementine got big into the I can make anything with these printers. I love the little farming machines we use. What can I do to them with all of these things I can print now? And has obsessively been modifying and tinkering and with all of these little machine parts and doing whatever the heck it is he wants. He is very... Sorry, I know we just talked about child, but he's very childish. In that
He's allowed to
sense.
be childish.
I would say, like, immature does not have to be the same as like
Absolutely.
Nil is not a mature person in the
Yeah.
like responsible sense.
Like, and so how he went to pilot school, though, is also, again, a bit complicated, because then I have to talk about larger complications of why he is now, from a diasporan world, now a pilot, or learning to be a pilot. He
A little bit
essentially
more,
got
yeah. I was going to say,
He
it
sort-
integrated into pitch, but yeah.
Yeah. He's sort of, depending on the pitch, but either way, he was sort of shipped off to learn how to do it one way or another. He is just a happy sunshine boy who is in his environment and happy to be working with the infinite number of tools he now has available to him.
Hell yeah. I'm stoked to play with Clementine. All right. Thank you very, very much for the pitch, Eli. Does anyone else want to describe their character? All right, Matt, you're up.
Everybody too shy.
Got nervous all of a sudden.
So I kind of like, I want to describe my character, but I also want to keep certain things secret
Absolutely.
for now, because I have ideas on things that they want to do and would be doing, and I don't want to talk too much about that. But so my character, his name would be Milo. I think Coyote would be the call sign. And he grew up around specifically the ISPN mechs.
Yeah.
His uncle is a engineer that works on mostly fixing them up for the company in some sort of capacity. I don't really, I'm a little tired, so I can't really think too well about like the where right now, but like so he's grown up around like specifically the ISPN mechs and has a lot of innate knowledge about how they function and you know, where the weak spots are, what makes them tick, what makes them interesting. I think kind of I was talking about this earlier with Cole, and I think Hannah and maybe Eli was there, I forget.
A little bit.
But I think that there's like I kind of like how I played Lynn. I think there's something in his backstory that like him being a pilot is a punishment. That this is not what he wants to do. But he is a hardworking person and will make the best out of a bad situation.
Regardless of whether he wants to be here, his work ethic is strong enough that it's just like, well, I mean, I'm not going to not do a good job. It's important.
Essentially, like, well, especially because like, well, because this, I was told to, you know, do this or else. Essentially, I guess, I don't know. Being a pilot, like, the survival is on the line, right? Like, I don't think that he wants to go into this being blasé about it, because it's like there's a real possibility that something goes bad and I just don't make it out. So yeah, I think he has a pretty strong work ethic, and that's kind of where I landed for now.
Sounds good. Hell yeah! Thank you for talking about your character. All right, Sal.
Oh, good. I mean, we spoke briefly about my character for a short while. So like Matt, I don't think I'm gonna discuss everything, mostly because it kind of backstory kind of hinges on, you know, the setting in general.
For sure.
But the basic cookie cutter outline is I think, Hannah, you had like a board, of like an inspiration board, like for characters and stuff. And
Yeah.
you explicitly said, I didn't want to add Draco Malfoy because I felt like it'd be too much. And I looked at that, I was like, perfect, because this character is essentially like.
Are
I
you my
took a lot of-
Harry?
Exactly.
Yes! Yes! Okay.
But parentage in high places, kind of always sour look in his face, constantly working toward a goal that he seemingly can never either work up to in someone else's eyes or see himself accomplishing. Huge chip on his shoulder. And he recently, I think, this is kind of where like the setting will come into play of what happened and where to who. He had a sister who was a developing scientist of some kind within whatever company his lineage will allow. And she went missing. And it had been for a few years. He was always working toward this goal. But as she went missing, he almost became obsessed with it. It became his singular drive, as if by some measure, accomplishing it would fix everything. And who knows, maybe it will, maybe it won't. But that is his reason of being as of right now. And that's all I really have, without going too much into what could potentially be fun stuff to learn on table.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Thank you. Hannah.
All right. I love it. We've already started to get ideas about these characters are gonna fucking love to hate each other. While I'm kind of using Draco as a touch point, I also want it to be clear that unlike Draco, Nil is a person who has actually like they've worked for the things that they have. So that's just one difference. But my idea for Nil, which and any pronouns, total gender fuck, doesn't care, will probably look different from day to day because they can, because they can afford to. Idea was so competition shooter, high level competition. Something happens that's either to be discussed or to be discovered, that makes them want to quit competing, and start a new project, a new chapter of life. So, piloting. Hopefully lucrative. I guess we'll find out.
Can be. Depending on how scrupulous you are. But yeah, see those, yeah. See those sharpshooting bits put to good use. I did, in text for voice, link back to that vision board that you sent before.
Yeah, I love it. So
which I think is as good an introduction to your character than anyone could possibly want on surface level.
I wanted to express like has genuine skill, has genuine talent, but is a total fucking diva about it. Just constantly. You were talking about the title of Lancer, and it's Nil doesn't want to be a good pilot. Nil wants to be a Lancer.
Yeah.
In the eyes of others.
Yeah, and the fact that that can come only through social recognition is very fun and interesting. It's not like a number you can hit.
Mm-hmm. Key aspect.
Yeah.
But
Super
also
fun.
The money's nice.
The money is nice. And the comfort. Yeah, no matter where in the galaxy you are, everyone needs a pilot. You know?
I feel like everyone has this sense of slightly more rural worlds, and it's I don't think Nil is from the core worlds, but I think that the world, or at least society that they are from, is a lot more they come from a world of entertainment and sport. That is their not literal world, not planet, but their experience of life is through that.
They are metropolitan. Very
yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Stoked. All right, and finally, Caroline.
Oh god.
I
in kind of a complete contrast, which makes me laugh seeing Asuka on your list, Hannah.
Mm.
The big inspiration for Sigurd is Rey.
Yeah,
I wondered. Yeah.
I fucking knew it.
The biggest inspiration is Rey. Very much, he's a quiet, stoic kind of guy that really just kind of keeps to himself. Very much does as told. This is not really a secret going into the start of the campaign. Just because maybe some people have already met him before, or an iteration. This is not the first time he's been here. This is not the first time he's been around. This is the first time that he knows of, though. He is not entirely, quote-unquote, human. He has been cloned before. Several times. Biggest features that kind of stand out is never has shown his face. Constantly has like a giant mask that just covers the head completely. There's no like real skin that shows from even just through outfits. Not really going to be like the leader type. Very much kind of just a follower-ish. Definitely on an older side just from like tone of voice alone. But otherwise, it is a mystery ghost.
And this one's a new pilot.
Yeah, this one's technically a new one.
This one's a new pilot. And, yeah, there may be some stuff going on that even you don't know about as a player.
Probably.
Which will be fun.
Probably.
Alright. Well, I think that's a good sense, at least, like, kind of emotionally, of our cast, as we get into our main pitches. Before we get into our main pitches, how are we feeling? Good to keep schmooving? We've been going at it for about an hour. I don't know if anyone wants a break, or we're good to
could use
schmoove.
a bathroom break very quickly.
Take a quick 5?
Like
Yeah!
5?
Let's... 5 to 10? Take 10?
Sure.
Let's take 10. Alright. Back at 7:50.
Be right back.
Be-doop. Alright, welcome. Let's pitch. Here, let me get the PowerPoint pulled back up now. The pitches. Yeah, so here's our core concepts that we're actually going to build stuff around. 2 of them are more specific, 1 of them is more general. Kind of a catch-all, let's figure out what we want to do option. The first 2 a little bit more detailed. Starting with... Oh, no, God! I accidentally transitioned in OBS. Mech Academy! So... Magical school, magic school, but mechs. That is the idea here. Relevant. Yeah. Yep. Mech Hero Academia is pretty good. Throwing a few varieties of mech school on here. Technically, Witch from Mercury should also probably be on here, but that show is so extremely not about the school fundamentally. Yeah. It just kind of also takes place there. So here's the pitch. Here's the idea. Here's the situation you find yourselves in. I'm not going to read out the text because I spent time writing it. Your application to pilot school has been accepted. Now it's time to buckle down and become the best pilots you can be. You've got classes and dorms and competitions to worry about, all while balancing your own personal goals. Oh no! Leading into the idea of a sci-fi magic college, but it's mechs. Most drama takes place on school grounds, but who knows what outside forces may be watching with intrigue. So we talked about this a little bit in the chat too, so I'll kind of like bring up that conversation there. One of the core tenets of this concept as a campaign description when it comes to primary conflict and setting. So much of this campaign concept would be the school, would be like going to classes. Are you passing your exams? What do exams look like? We would have to have a tournament arc in this particular concept. But I think like structurally, I would genuinely consider this way more close to like the first 30 or so volumes of Naruto, where it's like, yeah, it's technically school, but it's kind of fucky and weird, and it's just like the way they do exams is kind of nonsense, and there's a lot of like competition and rankings and like what I was going to throw like Kill la Kill in here too. All the while, there may be some number of people involved in it that are medium nefarious, but the school itself as an institution is not the primary antagonist of this campaign. The school may be flawed, it is still an institution, and as we all know, institutions exist only to strip you of your individuality. Depending on what you're talking about. It is a utopian future, so that may or may not be true.
Small question.
Yeah.
Would in this instance would we still have to be 18 if it's Mech Academy?
So
we just make it college
right.
Rather than
Okay.
It is going to school to be a pilot is fundamentally post-secondary education. So like anyone from like infantry war veterans to like fresh-faced 18-year-olds are coming to Mech Academy, depending on their availability and resources and whatnot.
Yeah, I didn't really. I kind of breezed over it. The competition, like Nil has a career. Nil has been doing this career for a while, so they're not so much in their 18 as they are like mid-20s.
Yeah.
So definitely a little bit older in terms of like. They're just coming here to learn how to be a pilot, not how to be an adult.
Something that's like relevant in a couple of these concepts too is just that being, depending on where you're from, it may be easier or harder to get to these schools fundamentally. In this concept, I think the school would be like jointly run probably by Union and Harrison Armories. Harrison Armories known for like training skilled pilots. Like if you were to like count up everyone who's called a Lancer in the known universe and looked up like how or by who they were trained, they're probably trained by Harrison Armories, because Harrison just has the most experience with pilots fundamentally. That said, this would probably be very much in Union space on the fringes. This would be a little bit more utopian and hopeful. I throw Mean Girls in here because like that's really where I want the main source of conflict to be in this campaign. Is like, all right, cool, y'all are fucking Goat House, y'all are an individual little squad of misfits hanging out in this environment, and the primary source of conflict is going to be from rivals and individuals. Like, what are your own personal goals as new learning pilots in this world? What are you hoping to accomplish? Why are you here in the first place is like a really important question to this. Yeah, so we got some like of our core concepts. I already started going into most of these. So yeah, school drama, like being kind of our key here. This my prep for this version of this campaign would be very NPC heavy. I would probably be drafting up like a roster of probably like 16 or so other students that you would be interacting with the whole time, and doing your Ender's Game, Harry Potter style Hogwarts houses where you've got a little bit of pride in your symbols and your houses and whatnot. That from that much, I think Witch for Mercury is actually a very good inspiration. Like you would be making your own little Earth house and whatnot. Questionable authority, like obviously not only every student has their own idea of what they want to be doing here and why they're doing it, but obviously staff and professors are. What kind of person becomes a mech pilot and teaches other people to become mech pilots? Is that a good thing? Do you want... What does it mean to be a veteran in this era of mech combat? And what are their motivations for training young pilots? Where are all these trained pilots going after they graduate? Are they being recruited or funneled into weird options? Are they all becoming albatrosses and going out to save lives to the best of their ability? What's going on? Classic magic school conflict is like, and beyond the walls there is a thing that we're not talking about. Very pointedly, don't worry about it. There might be something else going on outside the walls that maybe threatens the integrity of the school or the staff within that you may have to conflict with. And then, yeah, those very personal individual goals. Why are you here to become a pilot? How does that interact with your fellow students? How can you help each other? Do you even want to help each other? Do you need to overcome something in order to realize you are better together than alone? Yeah, that's kind of the pitch for Mech Academy. Up next, Escape the Baddies, from famed internet short comedy. Are we the baddies? Going full fucking YA. Oops, everything around us is actually evil, maybe. Trying to get away from the systems that have both created you and formed you, but are also maybe not great for the rest of the world when it comes to everything going on. I'm going to read the text again. Everyone keeps saying you're destined for great things, and you've been really pushing yourself at pilot school to live up to their expectations. Everything is great. Except you keep noticing strange sounds coming from the restricted zone, and your professors is starting to lecture on some really strange ideas. have you ever wanted to create your own Zuko or Catra arc in a TTRPG? Leaning heavily towards dystopian YA, but with adults who have more agency and can make more decisions, and it feels a little less weird for them to be under threat of major military conflict than fucking 15-year-olds. I love She-Ra. I love She-Ra so much. You're 12. Shit that goes on in that. I do love it though. It's very good. Anyway, if you wanted to pull a niche marquee piece of media reference for this concept, it is Hive, the Higher Institute of Villainous Education, which is if I remember correctly, just a very fun book with its primary premise being a bunch of kid geniuses in various character gimmick non-infringing departments are being taught to become the next generation of supervillains, and then go fuck that actually, and start breaking it down from the inside. Talking about our kind of concepts of what this concept would involve. This is also my personal favorite concept. We've got an institutional chess game. Institutions have to preserve themselves, not to help you, but from the inside, what can you leverage to get yourself out or even take it down? Very much in the way of like Hive or like the Hunger Games. Like, hey, we don't necessarily have the agency or force or power to be able to, like, I don't know, take down a regime or this enormous corporation or whatever, but we exist in a specific position of privilege and non-notice inside of it. How do we leverage that? Let's get strategic. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can plot out what we want to do from the inside. Alternatively, you're in goddamn mechs. Fucking burn it down. You are the newest and best of your kind to the best of your ability, and there may be other powers seeking to overthrow you and conflict with you and try and make sure you can't do what you can. But sometimes you just gotta be better than them. So, fighting your way out, taking an opportunity to cut and run, and then dealing with the consequences therein. From personal positions, realizing slowly that the people around you may not be good, actually. A lot of people come to training, organizations, etc. Being a mech pilot requires a lot of discipline, and being willing to engage in that discipline requires a lot of trust in your educators. What happens when the people you trust to guide you through your chosen path in life start asking you to do things you're not comfortable with anymore? And how do you use the skills you have around you and the people you have around you to change your situation to the best of your ability? And from kind of a future perspective in it, of just like, hey, you got yourself out. That's great. Cool. You've escaped in our favorite Act 1 climax. But there's still so many people back there being affected by the organization, by the system that got you here in the first place. Are you just going to leave them behind? Are you going to let that institution do whatever it wants and leverage those people to their own benefit like they're the machines they're piloting? Or are you going to do something about it? Are you going to find allies? Are you going to choose assets and take advantage of your knowledge of what's going on inside to try and take the whole thing down? Yeah, this may be a little bit more high concept, but I am a fan. I think it's neat. Yeah. Comments, questions, concerns?
Nothing that won't be discussed more when we get down to deciding certain things.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Then last, kind of our more catch-all classic adventuring party spacefaring concept. So, congratulations on finishing pilot school. Now it's time for your probationary period to make sure that you actually know what you're talking about. We're going on an internship. You've been assigned your temporary lance to finish about your licensing and skill evaluation. Then it's off into space, into the great unknown. There's plenty of demand for fresh, talented pilots out here. Rebellions on the rim looking for saviors. Corporations looking to consolidate your power, but it'll be up to you whether your band of pilots turns out to be heroes or just hired guns. Legitimately, maybe the best media touch point for my own personal conception of a campaign like this is The A-Team, a television show I believe is from the late 70s, so I don't know if other people are familiar with it or not.
Oh, sure.
If you're familiar with Mr. T, and you're probably familiar with... Everyone's probably heard the song.
One would hope. This gets a lot more into the running a mercenary lance, being your own band of heroes, looking at the wide galaxy of political intrigue and figuring out where you decide to insert yourselves and your giant mechs into the situation how you see fit. This is obviously a lot more open-ended. Relevantly for this concept in general would be a lot more self-guided. A looser amount of framing means that I'm going to be leaning on y'all a little bit more for making decisions and kind of figuring out where we want this to go, even in the campaign itself, rather than just there will be less planning. There will probably be more planning involved, actually, if we went with something like this. But that planning will be looser and more generally applied. If you like factional politics, boy howdy, are there a lot of factions that you can interact with and talk to and shoot guns at and have guns shoot at you in Lancer. So if you want to get real Dune with it, real like noble houses and planetary control and trying to do your best and prove that a small band of misfits can really make a difference.
Go to the baronies, yeah!
Oh yeah. That's extremely in vibes for this one. Also, Lancer's just a fucking huge galactic setting. So there's if there in your own research and studying, there's anything about Lancer that you're just like, I wish we could do a bunch of that, a bunch of this random space cool stuff. We can do something like this, and it's super flexible. We can this is, like I said, this is a little bit more of a catch-all pitch, so we can kind of do whatever we want with it, depending on how we choose to go about it. So, that said, what do? Have feelings, thoughts? I know Sal, you expressed a little bit more interest toward pitch B. And I know folks have kind of generally gravitated toward A and B, it sounded like.
There was, I liked both A and B. Definitely enjoyed the concept of both of them. I think you kind of sold me a lot more on A than I had originally read. If I'm being entirely honest, maybe some weird amalgam of A and B would be my ideal.
Extremely possible.
But if I had to just choose one, I think B still kind of takes it for me. I think it just has a little bit more freedom.
Yeah. Then a more specific question, what parts of A and B really appeal to you? Like if we were amalgamating, what are the tent poles you want to hit?
Ooh,
yeah, that's worth taking notes about.
Yeah, definitely the sort of rivalries between houses, cliques, whatever you want to call them. The sort of camaraderie that you build between NPCs, the role playing in that, and the fun, dumb school activity crap. You know what I mean? I said tournament arc, but it could really be anything. Some arbitrary training.
Honestly, at this point, if we were going with pitch C, I think I'm going to figure out how to cram a tournament arc in there because I want to do a tournament arc. It sounds like other people want to do a tournament arc.
I love that I sold you on that.
Well, it's perfect too because it's okay, so a tournament arc is exactly one mission because it's 4 interconnected combats. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It just would work.
Because I've been in a school setting D&D before, and the tournament arc, it was an entire thing. I loved it. So just hearing about it again just makes me game for it.
Yay!
Definitely the funny hijinks between NPCs, interacting with the characters, all the flavor that I know that you'll pack into all those NPCs. And then from B specifically, I really enjoy the idea of like the steady decline of like the ideals and the questionable moral compass from like the surrounding professors or just higher institutional people. Those are really the only ones that I kind of gravitated towards, but genuinely I love both.
Hell yeah.
And I know.
That's great to know. Other folks, thoughts?
One thing I wanted to bring up, because I know that we talked about it, but I don't know if that was ever brought up within this or the rest of the group, was the idea with the like escape the baddies. More specifically was the idea of like not only are you doing this to become a pilot, but it comes with implications like societally, like you would then be earning like citizen points or like
this is a system worth bringing up. So in canon, this is a system I really like conceptually. Harrison Armories, as like a society, as having a purview of planets, has a thing called social, which is a number associated with you as a person, as like a citizen. Except you may not be a citizen if your number isn't high enough. Quite literally, like it's the fucking China social credit meme. It's like, you collectively did a thing for Harrison Armories, number go up. And like, once you hit certain breakpoints in the number, you gain privileges. And one of those being, like, it's on here for a reason, Starship Troopers style service guarantees citizenship. If you help out Harrison Armory's like military, their navy, their group of mech pilots, your number goes up, and your number goes up a fucking lot. And the idea, especially, so that would not be mechanically minded in a lot of ways. That would be purely narrative. And the idea of, because of y'all are very different characters, y'all would be starting at very different numbers when it comes to social. And that could deeply affect your dynamics and privileges in the way that, like, the higher your social is, the more privileges you get, the more opportunities you have to talk to powerful people, etc. But also the more eyes are on you, the more expectations people have of you. The lower your social credit is, it's just like, oh, do you have non-tokened shower access with a low enough social, really trying to encourage you to get to like the better food tables at the cafeteria with a high enough social. But when you're really low down the totem pole, you're also beneath notice in a lot of ways. And having that be like very built in to pitch B and probably still present but less vital in A.
Because
continue, please.
Because I know we had talked about it a little bit, and I was really attracted to that for Nil specifically, just because they are so much about like status is everything to them. Like, and they will do just about anything to get it. So that would have been a really compelling thing to work with them. But I wasn't sure if it was applicable to all of these or just for B. I knew it fit in best with B.
Very B, a little A, and C wildly dependent.
Yeah, okay.
I think it would be interesting to explore like because you were talking loosely in A about like rankings of some kind, of some arbitrary kind, and I think that mixed with like the whole involvement of like just your social standing. Like someone higher on the the totem pole, being like lesser in the rankings of the school board or whatever.
Like becomes a whole thing.
If we could like take that idea and schoolify it, if people are more intrigued by Mech Academy, like kind of like Astakasia, like the holder status or something like that, or I don't know, ideas. It was something that I liked, but I wasn't sure if it was present in all of the ideas for the pitches.
Yeah.
I don't have too much to say. I also kind of reflect Sal's opinion of like I like a lot of A and B.
Yeah.
Mostly, I don't have too much to say regarding that.
I feel like for nil overall, they fit slightly better into kind of the image I have of B and what that's like. But they can also work in Mech Academy.
I mean, here's maybe a thought somewhat, is like, well, as far as we kick off, as far as your characters are concerned, we're in A.
Oh, actually, we're in B.
But the more, when we start getting into the questionable authority, like, the more you figure out what's going on in there, the more it starts to look like pitch B. Which implies a little bit more, like, I think, like, if we're talking about pacing, right? Like, hardline, just pitch B, fuck everything that's in pitch A. I feel like the pacing for pitch B is more like, okay, cool. Act 1 is like, our normal world is shit's already a little weird. And then we start like going down from there, and the end of Act 1 is like getting out, and then Act 2 is the fallout, and Act 3 is breaking back in to like then like taking action based on what we've learned. In a hybrid of in pitch A, you're at the school the whole time. The bit is like you're just trying to do your academic thing. Everyone's got their own goals, etc., etc. And in pitch B, in a hybrid therein, I think the pacing gets both slower and more muddy, where it's a slower decline from that. Oh, we're all at school. We're all happy to be here. Or maybe we're not all happy to be here, but like, we are here for reasons. We are here for school reasons, and then slowly figuring out like the secret projects behind what's going on in the school, and figuring out what's going on, and it being, I think escape then is less the operative word for this pitch then, and more just like, yeah. I think at that point it becomes what you choose to do with the knowledge you gain becomes way more of a question. That becomes organic rather than being kind of our pitch basis, if that makes sense. Did any of that make sense?
It did.
I loved all of it.
Okay, cool.
What everything that you said, Cole, is kind of what I like and what I'm interested in. If that is not too much of an ask.
No, literally, that conversation is why we are having a session -1.
Yay.
Rad. Caroline, haven't heard a ton from you. How are you feeling? What are you thinking?
I'm just here, guys. I'm happy to be here.
Relatable.
I just want to play the fun Lancer game.
You're so right. Genuinely, I'm just over here. I'm like, I just want to be in there. The brainworms have been like, they've been doing their magic.
I want to go to there.
For so long. I want to be there.
Anyway, we're going full maximum ride.
I know, and I'm so excited. Listen, okay. I saw Maximum Ride on the pitch earlier. I was obsessed with the fucking book series.
Yeah.
I was obsessed.
I remember really liking the comics.
The comics are good. The comics are pretty good.
But yeah. But also that level of like wild shit.
Yeah.
I think would be the most fun. Awesome. I think this also gives us a lot of room for like, all right, well, okay, so like, not giving anything away, but like, for some of you, it's gonna feel a lot more like pitch A than pitch B, and for some of you, it's gonna feel a lot more like pitch B than pitch A, at least to start with.
I like that actually.
Hell
okay,
yeah.
that I was kind of like, I hope that this can still like feel like it won't feel contrived or like we're trying too hard to make these two different like ideas. Like no, that sold it for me. Is the idea that it's not equal.
Yeah.
Like
I think that's going to be really interesting because I don't know if we've done something like that with one another. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
I mean, vampire a little bit. That's one of the things, but like only a little bit. Insofar as like some of you were higher status than others when it comes to that. But this is a much more structured environment too, where it's like, I'm not going to be coy about the fact that like, hey, our like normal world, our like starting point for this is, yeah, fucking the 5 of you are going to get thrown into a house together and told to cooperate, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's how this is going to work fundamentally. You're going to get sorting hatted into fucking Dragon Squad. And you're going to have to figure it out.
Why can't I be with the other rich kids?
Yeah.
Half of us are gonna be saying that shit.
Well, and like when we're talking about like pilot training, like let's get a little bit more detailed into like concepts. Like a lone mech is so much less useful than a lance of mechs. A lance is like the collective noun for a group of mechs. So like this squad, the 5 of you are going to be a lance. And part of being a professional pilot is like, you got to learn to cooperate with fucking whoever, because you're not going to get to pick who's in your squad fundamentally. And that's like kind of going to be at least the school's narrative conceit, as far as they are telling you, for why the 5 of you are together. And from there, you have to make it work or don't. Do some infighting, do some outfighting. What's worse, that you hate each other or you hate the other people that are better than you? Like, do you like being rank F on the list of squads? Do you like being the worst lance? Or are you gonna do something about it? And do something about it inherently means cooperation. And I think one of the themes I'm interested in exploring in this, especially in kind of a hybrid concept, is like, by training you to be good violent tools, they are also accidentally training you on how to resist the institution, because the answer is cooperation.
Yeah.
Yes to all of that. I will subscribe to that newsletter.
It turns out it's really hard to make people hate each other as soon as they have a shared task. But they might start hating each other. They are almost certainly going to start by hating each other.
We'll see how long it takes for Nil to stop being fucking insufferable.
Yep. Hey, if you want to be,
never.
if you want to be the Katra of the squad, you're allowed. You know? Like, I think that's
kind of are inherently.
Yeah, like that. I think that's not a bad, not necessarily character reference, but role reference for what's going on necessarily in this from a like initial position. Yeah, then I'm super happy to go forward with that if folks sound excited about it. I'm also excited about it. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of a best of both worlds. I'll guarantee a tournament arc.
Please.
Happy to. I'll finally watch the rest of Little Witch. I might rewatch Soul Eater. That's just for me though. That's not for this.
If you rewatch Soul Eater, I'll watch it with you.
Hell yeah. Can I get a hell yeah? Hell yeah. Stone Cold. I'm just saying all mech combat is wrestling. That's kind of a fact. Yeah, but no, narratively it's wrestling, not literally it's wrestling. Narratively,
I see.
frankly, all wrestling is just combat theater, and all theater is just wrestling. I will die on this hill, alone mostly. So concepts begone, some stuff to talk about, and just kind of converse, think about. Some of the big things for our campaign. How often do we want to do mech combat? When I mentioned it was designed kind of based on 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons, that means like the game kind of expects you to be doing combat very frequently. Either that being like every like at the end. Either like at the end of every session or like very regularly therein. I think that's going to end up being contextual. I'm guessing and maybe proposing a cadence closer to every other, but curious about what people think about, like, how often do you want to be in Foundry moving mechs on hexes?
Mm.
I mean, my expectation is closer to what you said, where it's like every other, but then there's flexibility within that depending on the scenario.
Mhm.
Like, because I do want to be doing combat in this more than I would in maybe some other systems.
For reference, in our last D&D camp in Rakentha, I think we were in combat roughly like 1 every 4 sessions.
Right.
But then when we had that 4th session, it was usually either like a boss fight or a
Big,
dungeon or like a big minis thing.
Whereas for this, I'm kind of hoping for more like either just longer skirmishes or just like combats, kind of like pseudo back to back. Like we talked before about like missions in this are actually like multiple combats in a row.
Yeah. And very objective based. A lot of times winning combat in this game is not just destroying your opponent. There's like hold zone objectives, there's pick up VIP objectives, like your like mission report, your mission briefing that you're going to get before your mission is literally going to tell you, like, let you see the map and look at the like drop terrain and figure out what's going on with it, stuff like that.
Is Tournament Art gonna have a Halo-style announcer saying "Hill"?
Hey, I'm going to do my best. I already paid for an annual subscription to VoiceMod, because I'm really looking forward to trying to do like mech sound voices and like walkie-talkie effects and stuff like that.
That's so funny you say that. Because I'm probably doing the same for Sigurd.
Nice.
Funny
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Go.
Yeah. So, also on the conversation of combat, one of the great things about mech combat is if your mech gets destroyed, unless you're being extremely reckless about it, or just unless you're playing fundamentally recklessly, you are probably going to be fine. Your character is probably going to be fine even if your mech explodes in combat. And I would be kind of surprised if like folks' mechs don't explode in combat during this game. That said, this means that like failure is super on the table for Lancer combat. Like, and I think that begs the question of like, how hard do you want me to make it when it comes to combat in Lancer? Because it can be like every time you get into combat, it's a coin flip. You gotta try hard, or you got like a 50-50 chance of just beefing it. And then we can like explore the narrative consequences of that, because there's not a lot of systems where you're just like allowed to lose and keep going. In reference to losing mechs too, like as resources, one of the ways that someone put it that I really liked was your mech being destroyed is a lot like being a Formula 1 driver and having your extremely fancy race car get wrecked and completely destroyed. People are going to be kind of upset with you. They're not going to be happy that their extremely expensive and fancy machine is no longer working, but you are going to get a new one when you need it. Very fundamentally.
Yeah.
Does bring me to my favorite flavor text tag from one of the SSC swords, which is that if you lose it or it's destroyed in combat, you have to handwrite an apology to the designer in order to get another license to make another one.
I actually love that. I want to do that.
It's really cool. I like that. That is maybe, like I said, maybe my favorite piece of flavor text in the entire book. Like
That's a Smith Shimano.
It is a Smith Shimano item. I think it's the sword on the death mark, or on the it's the like shooty slashy ninja-y mech. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, of course.
But imagine
Okay.
how wild those would be to other corporations. Dear Horse.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Deer horse. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Relevant like to world stuff. I meant to. I want to bring this up sooner rather than later too. So Horus is very much presented as like one of the manufacturers as far as like the book is concerned when it comes to other shit. If your mech is like really obviously visually a Horus mech, that's weird. People are gonna think that that's very weird. Not like socially outcast or anything, because like I mean it's on the Omninet. It's people get licenses in weird ways. One of the other jokey things is like sometimes people try to like use their manufacturing 3D printers to print just like a sedan and a Horus mech comes out, and like they will spontaneously form, among other things. But like,
How am I taking this shit to
That's-
work?
Fucking crazy.
Horus is very much the weirdest of the factions, and if you are planning on being invested in Horus, I would highly recommend watching Zactac's video on them, because they are unique in some ways that I think will be very fun, but and that we can fold aggressively into the way the campaign functions.
You mind sending me that video?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Here, I'll pull it up right now while I continue talking.
Please, and thank you.
So yeah, sorry, back to overall difficulty. Like, when it comes to, like, do you want every fight to be an uphill battle? Do you want things to be, like, challenging but ultimately very accomplishable? Do you want to feel like gods and just, like, blow through mech encounters because you don't give a shit about difficulty and just want to do cool, awesome mech shit? Like, what's the feeling?
I want to have to think about my
Yeah.
mech movements.
Agreed.
I want squad-based combat. I want to use cover. I want to be talking about who's moving where and when. How are we coordinating our actions?
I
That is
am
so
so
good.
for that.
And I
Yeah.
want to be really bad at it.
I need to.
Like, we were just like, throw the kitchen sink at us for D&D, but like, I actually feel like, being one, we're all gonna be new to Lancer, but also we are now at this point, like, okay, like, pretty decent at, like, I'm not gonna say, like, optimizing or anything, like, power gaming, but, like, we're going to make certain decisions at this point in our, like, I feel like we're capable of going, like, just full war game. Like,
Yeah.
like, let's get fucking crunchy.
And
Let's
this game very much incentivizes that kind of gameplay.
yeah. So
also-
I'm happy enough to, like, let's crank it up.
Y'all can do
Let's make it
some
tough.
really cool co-op combo shit once you learn to do so, and I'm really excited to see that learning curve happen both in character and in real time with, like, you all getting associated with the systems.
Very much.
And I'm
agree.
also excited to be able to, like, have a reason to be able to communicate with other characters' strategy.
Yeah.
Like, because in D&D, role-playing is part of... The way we played D&D was role-playing was kind of part of the combat, in a way.
Yeah. And it should be here. I want to remind folks, too, that, like, when it comes to Lancer, this is still a role-playing game. When we get into, like, okay, you got, like, fucking victory points and shit in your scenarios, remember that, like, hacking into the enemy's comms and, like, sending them a photoshopped picture of their mom in, like, over a shitty, like, bikini model, or, like, other childish psychological warfare, extremely on the table.
I am giving Sigurd a new talent. It is that.
It is that, specifically.
I'm sorry, I keep Nil just sending the enemy, like, fucking selfies, doing, like, peace signs and, like,
Sending
fucking duck face, like,
sending your enemy your Cash App link in the all chat.
That
yes!
is peak toxicity. I love that.
Fucking
Like-
signed
No.
photos.
This is
No,
a
no,
this
no,
is a
no.
comms on game when it comes to, like,
Listen.
talking to your
Oh
enemies.
no,
Listen.
I just had a horrible idea. Just Nil streams. Nil streams the battles. Leave a tip.
Extremely
That's
funny.
Such a power play.
Thanks for the bits.
Probably a war crime. Probably a
Bro,
war
bro,
crime.
you streaming right now?
Y'all are crazy.
Fucking awesome. Am I on stream right now? Am I muted?
Bro, you're not even following?
God, thank you for the 50 free gift subs.
All right.
Like-
Okay. I want you to know though,
Thanks
if you
for
are streaming this,
following.
you're gonna get like 5 of these from Sigurd.
Oh my god.
Just like in the middle.
Let's play ball.
It's so funny.
Horrible.
My God.
Horrible.
Yeah, like I want folks to express, and part of that is included in, like, the electronic warfare. Like, hacking is also a pretty big part of the systems in this game, and can be, but, like, enemy strategy is going to be. I'm actually very excited as our resident wargamer, to some extent, to, like, be able to pull out some whack shit. And depending on how combats go, like, there's going to be a very real difference between, like, hey, you're sparring with classmates, or, like, you're doing your tournament arc, you're really trying to win, versus, like, these mechs are here to kill you.
Yeah,
Like, it is going to be variable tone and also probably variable difficulty. If the odds are severely stacked in your favor, one of the nice things about the mission briefing is you'll know ahead of time, and I will be very explicit about that. Because, again, like, combat is frequently not just about wiping your opponents. There's usually some kind of objective going on. So, stoked to see how that's going, how that's going to go, etc. So the answer to how hard do you want it? It sounds like harder. That is the answer. Is how hard do you want it? Harder.
Hard enough that like I think it would require us to act as a team, just so we get that.
Yeah.
Of, like we're the first couple of fights where we're just like completely doing our own thing.
It's maybe a sweet spot. Is like if you are acting individually, you may not succeed. If you are acting together, you have more of a chance.
Yeah. Exactly.
I will try to tune accordingly with the knowledge of I am also new to this system, so I'm going to do my best.
Yeah, of course.
Whatever you do.
Hell yeah.
You'll be learning too.
Existing relationships. Do your characters know each other? Are they friends, rivals, ex-coworkers? I was thinking even with this concept, I think it's probably reasonable to start the campaign like a week into the first semester, if that makes sense. So the idea that like you all have technically met, you might be like lightly acquainted, but we can like but you fundamentally don't know each other. So that we can have a little bit of pre-existing friction, tension, attachment, etc. I think our first session is literally going to be like, all right, y'all are in your Everests, and it's time to like get at it. We're doing your like, are you literally fit to pilot a mech? Yes or no evaluation. Is a combat I very much want to have in literally our first session. So like, yeah, think about that. Scheme. Get amongst yourselves, etc. Big wishes. Even already, we've talked through some of this already, but if as you continue to have the brainworms, if you got big ideas, tropes, concepts, situations, characters that you're like already like, man, I really wish they could do this thing from my favorite anime, or like this completely unassociated off the wall thing, but I think it'd be kind of cool. Let me know. Let's figure it out. Let me get in there. Let me make your dreams come true, to the best of my ability.
I do want to talk to you briefly after session. With
Hell yeah.
Ideas.
Sounds great.
I also would like to. If you can,
yeah, that's why I'm here.
Secrets?
I'm super down.
I will just send you a DM.
It sounds great.
I don't have a lot to talk about, but I have a wish.
Good, excellent. We're starting. We the stars are far ahead. The wishes are now. And the bigger the better. Especially if it's like whack concepts, I'd love to hear about it sooner rather than later, so I can like really integrate those desires into the prep. The more I play, the more I think I realize that like prepping for campaigns is just loving y'all and your characters. And doing everything I can. Like, every time we do something that's awesome, it's usually not because I thought of it, it's because one of y'all thought about it and wanted it to make it happen, and I was able to help make that happen. So happy, more than happy, to have you do my prep for me. And just, like, make those what was the Brenly Mulligan bit? Like, a backstory is just a bag full of plot hooks your characters will always bite on. So yeah, happy to make your dreams come true. Already went over the safety sheet a bit, but like early lines and veils. If there's anything you think about right now, if you watch Iron-Blooded Orphans and go, I really don't think I want my character to go through that, to fill out the lines and veils accordingly. Even though this is going to probably be, it's not like, this is a setting that is very much going through the pains of living after enormous conflict and war, and there absolutely still are war and conflicts going on in the world right now. But y'all are not necessarily going to be very much at the front lines of that, depending on how the situation goes out. I am not planning on pulling an Ender's Game, oops, we actually tricked you into doing a genocide, like, in this campaign. That is not something I am interested in making happen to you. But you might be ideologically challenged with the ideas of the fact that you are learning to handle enormous destructive forces, very fundamentally. What you want to do with that is up to you and your characters. And, stay safe. Like I said, very much consider the fact that you are going to be fighting other people when it comes to this campaign. And if there are lines you don't want crossed or things you don't want to see, feel free to fill out. Please do edit the safety sheet to your content. And yeah, if you have any questions about the safety and whatnot, ask me, let me know. I am available all the time. Lastly, secrets and schemes. What do you want to have? What do you want to do? Tell me. Do you want to fucking plan shit with each other to ruin my life as a GM? Do that. I don't know. To text each other, figure that out. So like, definitely not over. Oh, no, you're fine. I didn't hear anything.
I have a little bit.
If you're, interested in making things happen, try not to overwrite. We are still going to be playing Morkborg, so maybe make sure you are considering that as well. But like,
I was telling Matt earlier, I was like, I hope I don't give everyone whiplash because we're doing such a negative one, and then jumping into Morkborg session 0, and then
a lot of planning going on right now. But I'm very happy for the time because I really want to make. We're losing Tailspire is the big thing with this campaign. Tailspire was so huge for our previous campaign. I love it dearly. I'm so excited to be using it for Morkborg. But fundamentally, we are losing a layer of fidelity. We're literally losing the third dimension when it comes to the way we're going to be running Lancer. And I want to put a lot of work preemptively into polishing this to the highest extent I can. That means having really good maps, helping people make great like profile images, maybe doing something a little bit more intense with our little PNG tubers, having handouts, just trying to make this as immersive an experience as I can, despite the fact that the visual fidelity may be dropping some. So very appreciative of having the time of like functionally an entire short campaign to be able to help do prep in the meantime.
Yeah.
I've already got I've been spending a lot of time listening to like sci-fi video game soundtracks and like picking out stuff to add to my playlists to put in our ambiance stuff for Foundry because I can finally use custom music.
Yeah.
Remind me to go through my
library
royalty free, because I have like a ton.
I will do so. Sounds like a plan.
I appreciate your hard work.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to do it, but it is a lot.
Don't have to do it all alone.
So my Cash App link is. I mean, I keep considering throwing up a tip jar, but it's not why I do it, So hard to say.
Cole, you work a lot of you, and I don't have too much money, but I'm happy to pay you a bit.
Maybe I'll throw my Venmo details somewhere, but like I said, I'm happy to do it. It's my favorite thing in the world. I was describing to I think one of my Warhammer friends recently where I was just like realizing that my personal priorities are number 1, this campaign. Literally, I will value working on whatever campaign I am running for y'all above my personal health, above my continued employment, above my job. It doesn't fucking matter. It is the thing I care about most in the world, basically. And then survival, and then other stuff.
Valid. But take care of yourself.
I will, and I do.
I will also keep them from
Yes.
Working too hard.
Having additional people helps. Yeah, so super excited to run this for y'all. Beyond that,
I have
oh, yeah.
related to the last one, just because it came to mind while early lines in Veil. A question for everyone before we even start getting into character, because I have it in my own notes that and like kind of ideas for Nil, is that they are sort of like built-in flirtatious, like overly familiar and over playful, maybe even engages in a little bit of negging. Is there anyone who would like to just automatically opt out of that before even like getting, just if that's too uncomfortable?
No, because that sounds hilarious.
It sounds awesome. Yeah.
All right.
You already know Caroline's
I
opinion.
fucking dare you. I fucking dare you.
Good. Okay. Just making sure that that's cool and not too aggressive. I promise it won't be like too inappropriate, but it's kind of how I've got them like set up in my brain right now.
We're not going to use the words "fuckboy" explicitly, but like, you know.
I mean, I said it myself. They at least in attitude, certainly. Maybe not in action,
Not
but
literally.
in attitude, yeah. Like,
They exude fuckboy, even if they don't perform fuckboy.
yeah. There's a vibe there. They might be a little bit rancid. with their
Fuckboy
vibes.
aura. Incredible.
Absolutely. Please do.
That's everything. Like I said, you can comment on this deck. You can edit the safety tools document. If you fucking reach out to me for anything, I'm so excited to run Lancer. It's so big. I'm so grateful for Zactac's lore videos because, like, I can't read that much. Also, hey, I love Lancer, the book. The setting guide in the back, fucking boring as shit. It's really plain. It's very like, here's 10,000 years of history, and I'm just like, I don't want to read that. That's boring.
I
Someone-
started reading that today, and I was like, I got like 6 paragraphs into it, and I was like, I am gonna keep going, but I don't want to.
The lore videos are just a more entertaining and more efficient way of consuming the same info.
Perfect.
But the book is also more detailed and more intense, so it has a lot going on. Especially if you start checking out, like, honestly, if you're looking to read in the book to get a sense of the world, the flavor text attached to the equipment and mech options and manufacturers and stuff like that, I find way more valuable than the like appendix of lore in the back. And then if you have something specific you really want to learn about, finding that in that big section of text and reading up on it there is like a very good way to find, like, okay, let's get the deets on what's going on back there. Yeah. But the number of... I tried to read Lancer multiple times before succeeding at reading Lancer because it's just so dense. I'm excited. I'm stoked.
Chunky one.
My mind is literally all
Keep
next right
reading
now.
different parts over and over again until everything fits like a puzzle.
Yeah. Y'all should play Armored Core. Y'all should play BattleTech. Please play Titanfall. Please play Titanfall.
I've played it already.
Play it again.
Play it again.
Third time. I'm considering playing it again. I did just reinstall MechWarrior. MechWarrior is good if you want a like good example of like the complexity required of like actually piloting a mech, because that is like a mech sim basically. That's a lot of fun. But the mechs in that game are way out of scale. They're BattleTech scale mechs where like they're huge. They're like multiple hundreds of tons of mech. And they're like destroying entire cities. They're huge. The mechs in Evangelion are so big, by the way. They're enormous.
Tall.
They're insane.
I'm looking at pictures of them now. They're
Mechs, heavy air quotes. Has everyone here
Look at that.
watched Evangelion?
Yeah.
Sal has not.
Sal has not. Are you spoilers free on Evangelion?
I mean, is spoilers free as like any random image I come across online will net me.
Fair enough. So mechs, heavy air quotes, but they're huge. I do really want to watch the original series of Gundam. We watched Witch from Mercury. We just finished Evangelion. We actually started watching Gungrave because I wanted to watch Gungrave. But I think next on my list of Gundams is Iron-Blooded Orphans, which I've heard is the saddest Gundam.
Yeah.
And then either the original series or Seed Destiny or 00. But I have many Gundams. I'm excited. I am considering getting Gunpla for the first time in a long time. Either for Witch from Mercury or Armored Core, because there are Armored Core Gundam. Or Armored Core Gunpla.
Very good.
You're a Garage Kit enjoyer, right, Caroline?
I am, yes.
Hell yeah. They seem neat. We were thinking about getting the Choo Choo model from Witch from Mercury, the pilot, because we love Choo Choo.
I have a lot of fun building them. It takes a lot of time, and I genuinely enjoy that.
Yeah.
I have I need to build them. I have both of the flight suits from Nier Automata.
Ooh, that sounds rad.
And I've started doing 9S's.
Sick.
But I dropped it a while ago because obviously we moved last year, and then I forgot to pick it up again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, side note. I still have your vampire books. I think. Do I have any of your other books? Because I'm pretty sure Chicago by Night and the Storyteller's Guide are both yours.
Yes.
And is Descent into Avernus yours?
It might be. I think hold on, Sal.
What?
Is there Descent to Avernus on that shelf?
You're asking a lot of me.
Just Dungeons and Dragons. Don't look at any of the other books.
Not that I can see. No.
Baldur's Gate, Descent into Avernus.
Yeah. Then probably.
Oh, yeah, it's right there.
But is that Danny's? Is my thing.
Because I'm pretty sure because I know my copy of Waterdeep Dragon Heist is mine.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure this version of Baldur's Gate is yours.
It might be.
So happy to give those back
Okay.
whenever you want. Because I'm no longer
Literally
using them.
whenever. We can wait till Halloween if needed.
Yeah,
It's
sounds
really
good.
Not pressing.
We signed on for another 9 months at this apartment too, by the way. Sorry, we need to fill out that paperwork.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
LOL.
I got a text from Stan today. Not a bad one, just hey, just remember to fill this out. Just like, okay, Stan,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, we meant to do that a little bit ago.
Yeah. Because our lease expires in 6 days. So
nice.
we need to get that in.
It really just be like that sometimes.
Anyway, yeah, happy to get those back to you. I am thinking about Mothership for the Halloween session. I think that would be a lot of fun. It works well for one-shots, and I think that would be a lot of fun. Anything else? Open convo. Anything people have for me? I know Sal and Eli want to have private chat.
Eli,
Happy
you,
to.
you can go first. I have to go clean up Mama's throat because she's a rat.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. I had to
Yeah.
clean Bubby puke out of my bed like not that long ago, and it fucking that no fun.
Yeah.
Cats be fucking throwing up. Like what?
Yeah.
You
Cats
throw
do
up
be
so
throwing up.
much.
You eat the same thing every day. How do you throw it up?
What I'm saying. I did send you my notes, Cole, which I guess I don't know how much I necessarily want to bring up now or later.
Can you send it in the Just for Tub channel?
Yeah.
Thank you. Either way, I feel like we can probably end the recording.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Fine with me.
thank you all for chatting. Happy to,
Yeah.
stoked to do this more.